Hello there, everyone, and welcome. It's me, Amanda, with Once in a Wild, and we're happy to be here on Friday today. Hooray! Happy Friday to everyone. And if this is not your Friday, all you zookeepers out there, I feel your pain. I understand our work never ceases, and we don't have regular weekends, but happy Friday regardless, and we hope to bring a little happiness to you guys regardless, even if you're watching it live or later. Our videos are right here on Facebook and YouTube, saved after the program, so you guys can watch them again if you would like. And that really helps us out if you would share our videos as well. Once again, this is Once in a Wild, and it's time for our 3:30 p.m. Central Time program here on Friday. Happy Friday to you all. Let's see if we have any viewers so far. It looks like I have 3 viewers so far. Chime in with your comments, questions, concerns, all the things. I'm here for you with all of your animal curiosities as well. If you guys want to chime in with your questions, as always, I do appreciate and very much love seeing your questions and participation. And just chime in and let me know who's watching with you. If your kiddos are watching, let me know whose names, what their names are rather, and I can say hi to them personally, and I love doing that. So thank you so much for joining us, and let's go ahead and get started. This is Once in a Wild. We are an animal encounter company. We bring animals to all kinds of events, classrooms, nursing homes, hospitals. We can bring them to your home as well. We hope to do that very, very soon. We'll talk about that maybe later on, or have another video about that. We're thinking about reopening again, of course, as this whole situation gets better. But we'll talk about that another time. But that is what we do on a normal basis. Right now, we're bringing the virtual programs to everyone that wants to watch, and we do also offer Zoom room animal encounters as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to begin with this. Hold on. We are also having some animal feedings today, which is what this banner is letting you know. We're going to have 3 animals on today as usual. Last time we had 4 species. Remember, the doves didn't cooperate very well, but there were still 4 species last episode. And we're going to have 3 species today and 3 feeding demonstrations. So that should be really, really fun. I'm going to take this down now that I've told you that. And let's go ahead and take this down as well. Let me see. And we are ready to begin. Hooray, and welcome once again. My name is Amanda. This is Once in a Wild, and let's go ahead and meet some animals. Before we begin, I do want to remind everybody that these live streams are free of charge on Facebook and YouTube, and we're happy to do that for you every Monday and Friday until further notice at 3:30 p.m. Central Time is when you can find us on live stream. But if you would like to donate to our zoo, you can do so via Venmo at Once in a Wild is our Venmo handle, and the last 4 of our phone number are 5240 in case it asks. Sometimes it asks, sometimes it doesn't, so you never know. So that is scrolling down below, as well as the information on Venmo. We are also offering Zoom room animal encounters at this time, and those are fully customizable and very affordable as well. And let's go ahead and play our video regarding that, so that way you can learn about our Zoom rooms before I forget. But there are a couple of ways you can donate to our cause. Number 1 is Venmo, and that is the donation of your choice, however big, however small. Every little penny helps us to feed our animals, take care of everything, and keep going even through these hard, trying times. But you can also donate to our Amazon wish list. If you go to onceinawild.com, which is also scrolling down below, you can see that. Onceinawild.com, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that webpage and click or touch donate to our cause, that will directly lead you to our Amazon wish list, where there's a bunch of items you can donate straight to our door, which is pretty fun. Without further ado, we're going to talk about our Zoom rooms, and after that we'll get started. Stuck in the house with nothing to do? Did your students miss their fun field trip that was planned for them? Are you looking for a fun team building activity for your employees that are stuck in the house with the same old Zoom meetings from day in and day out? Was your child's birthday party canceled this year because you're stuck in quarantine? Well, then we got the solution for you. Our Zoom room animal encounters are a great solution for you. In Zoom room virtual animal encounters, we can bring the zoo to you, but from the safety of your own home. They are fully customizable, and you can invite all your friends to join in and meet all the animals. They are fun, unique, and very interactive. It's also a great learning opportunity. And most of all, it's very, very simple. Just contact us to book your appointment and schedule your Zoom room, Then select the animals you would like to attend in your Zoom room animal encounter, and then send the link to all of your friends and family who are invited to the Zoom room that we provide to your email. And best of all, we can bring the animals to anyone, anywhere, all over the world. So visit us at onceinawild.com or call us today. We can't wait to see you. Amazing. Wasn't that neat? I think it was. So that's a little bit about our Zoom room animal encounters. You guys can customize those and pick the animals and whatnot. I think I explained everything with the commercial. So let's go ahead and meet our first animal. Look who it is today. Shelton John is back. He is a tortoise. I'm going to set him right here. Hopefully he will hang out right there. If he just leaves, I guess I will hold him instead. So Shelton John is a red-footed tortoise. You can probably see why they call them the red-footed tortoise, right? He has red scales on his forelegs there and also on his back legs. Isn't that cool? Shelton John is a beautiful red-footed tortoise. This is not as big as they get. They actually do get quite a bit bigger. Hello, Richard. Nice to see you. And everybody chime in and let me know that you're there. Say hi, ask your questions, leave me your comments, leave me some cute emojis. Whatever you want to say is really, really fun. So that's kind of the best part about doing these live streams. I can actually highlight your questions down below and let everybody know what you're curious about, and then I can answer your questions and address your comments. So Shelton John is a red-footed tortoise. These guys get around, I want to say 30 pounds maximum, 25-ish pounds is pretty normal, but they can reach pretty large sizes. Not the largest tortoise in the world, obviously. There are much, much larger tortoises like Aldabra tortoises and Galapagos tortoises. Those guys are like huge, right? These guys are kind of a medium-sized tortoise. Like I said, they get around 20, 25 pounds, maybe 30 pounds for a great big one. So they're roughly about this large. Their shell is. Shelton is a smaller one just because he's still growing. Now, speaking of still growing, all turtles and tortoises and all reptiles, which includes turtles and tortoises, crocodilians, snakes, and lizards, all those guys actually do never stop growing. So as long as he's alive, he's going to grow little by little. When they're babies, they tend to grow a lot faster because they need to grow up and get away from predators and things, right? Because the smaller you are in the animal kingdom, the more vulnerable you are to danger and whatnot. So when they're tiny, they tend to have a faster metabolism, they grow a little quicker, and then once they reach maturity, meaning breeding size, they tend to slow down their growth. Shelton is kind of like a teenager tortoise. We don't really know his age, though, because he was a donation to our zoo. Well, he was a rescue, I should say. And we took him in as a rescue. He came from a rescue organization, and they didn't know his age either. So a little fun thing about reptiles and kind of like a unfortunate thing about sometimes is if you don't know their birthday or hatch day, in this case, he would be a hatched animal, not a live birth. When it comes to being tortoises, you are hatched from an egg when you are a baby. I don't know why he prefers to be down there as opposed to right here. You can just hang out right there. Everybody can see you. Oh my goodness. He just wants to be stubborn. Tortoises are kind of stubborn. But these guys do hatch from eggs when they are born, right? They hatch out. So we don't know his hatch day or birthday. So we don't really know how old he is, because if he didn't get enough food or good sunlight or care in general, water, everything, he may not have grown at the appropriate rate or at the normal rate. So he could be almost any age. Now, we don't think he's any older than 20. Like, that would be kind of ridiculous if he was 20 years old and still stunted like this. But we do know that he has little bumps on his shell. So that means that he probably got quite a bit of protein as a baby. These guys, if they get too much protein, they're naturally herbivores, maybe eating a little bit of bug protein and things like that. Sometimes they might find a dead animal and eat it, but it's really not a good part of their, especially captive diet, to have a lot of protein. So we do know that he got a little bit too much protein because of these little bumps on his shell. In the tortoise world, we call that pyramiding, and too much pyramiding can be damaging to these tortoises. And this is never going to go away, but we're hoping that it will not get any worse than this, and he will be just fine. But we know that he may have gotten a little bit too much protein, so he might actually be younger and might have grown too fast. So we really don't know his age, so we just guess. He could be 5. He could be 20. We don't know. He can't tell us. So, but that's okay. We love him anyway. And this tortoise species can live into their 60s, maybe even more with proper care. So these guys have a long life expectancy, not the longest life expectancy of the tortoises. Those go to those larger tortoises and things. Some smaller tortoises also live a long time. He's leaving frame. Stay right here, buddy. Maybe I'll just hold you. But these guys do live into their 60s or more or less, depending on their care and depending on genetics. And, you know, of course, tortoise to tortoise might be different. But yeah, so we don't really know how old he is. We just know that we love him and that he's been with us for a few years now. And hello, Angela. Nice to see you. Hi, I finally got to see one of these. I'm just watching with my lazy cats. Hi, lazy cats. Nice to see you guys as well. Or nice to hear that you're watching, I guess. And hopefully your cats and you enjoy your first time watching. Remember, all of our videos are actually saved for viewing again. I view them again sometimes. It's usually for training purposes so I can improve. As you've noticed, I decorated today. I thought maybe some plants would bring some life into the scene here today. So let me know what you think about that. I think it looks really pretty. But again, we're talking about the red-footed tortoise, right? Red-footed tortoises are actually from South America, and they are not an endangered species, which is fantastic. Red-footed tortoises are doing pretty well out there in the wild, and that's wonderful because not all tortoises are doing well in the wild. But this one is, which is great. They live in South America. They are a kind of more tropical species. They live in kind of more humid climates. Lately, it's been pretty humid around here in San Antonio, Texas. And he's been living outside because it's nice and warm right now. It's really important for tortoises and most reptiles that bask in the sun and are diurnal. Diurnal meaning that they're awake during the daytime. Tortoises are awake during the daytime for the most part. I don't know if there's any tortoises that are nocturnal. If there are, please let me know, all you herpetologists out there. I don't believe there are, but I know this species is diurnal out in the day. So they do bask in the sun to help them process their calcium. That helps them to digest their food and stay healthy and grow nice, healthy bones and things. And he also will bask in the sun to regulate his body temperature. So he's a reptile, right? Reptiles are turtles and tortoises, lizards, snakes, and crocodilians. All those guys are the 4 categories of reptiles. And guess what? We're meeting all reptiles today. So it's a reptile encounter today. Pretty cool. We're going to meet 3 out of 4 categories of reptiles. I don't have any crocodilians as of now in my animal ambassador collection yet, but maybe someday. I would love to teach you guys about all 4 of the reptile categories. That would be really fun. But these guys, like I said, they need to bask in the sun for all those reasons, and all reptiles have to regulate their own body temperature manually. So reptiles are what we call ectotherms. That means they're ectothermic. Ectotherm is just short for ectothermic. And what does ectothermic mean? Well, that basically just means that they don't have their own body temperature. Sometimes we call that cold-blooded, right? So they're not really cold-blooded with cold blood running through their veins. They have whatever body temperature is around them. So right now, our house is around 76 to 77 degrees, more or less. I just adjusted our temperature in the house because I was a little warm under all these lights, as you might imagine. It's about 77 degrees, more or less, in here right now. So he's going to be about 77 degrees right now. So if he were in the natural setting in the tropics of South America, where these guys are from, overnight, it's going to get cooler, right? That's usually when they go to sleep. And then in the daytime, they're going to come out, and if they feel a little bit too cool, they're going to go out in the sun and sunbathe. They'll get warmer, and then they're going to go back into the shade when they get too hot. And that's what they have to do kind of all the time to regulate their own body temperature. Please let me know if you guys have any questions about our tortoise. Now, you might be thinking, what is the difference between a turtle and a tortoise? Well, there are a lot of differences, but they are in the same family. So a tortoise is in the turtle family, but they are more specifically a tortoise. So, like I said, they're in the same family, so it's very, very confusing. But tortoises are designed to crawl around on land and not swim. That's the main difference, I think, is going to be their non-aquatic lifestyle by comparison to a turtle who can swim. Almost every single species of turtle can swim pretty well. Box turtles are a land-dwelling turtle, but they can still swim some. They are light enough and buoyant enough to swim a little bit. They're not super known for their swimming skills as a box turtle, but box turtles can swim a little bit, so they're still a turtle. Turtles also have an omnivore diet, a truly omnivore diet where they eat both meats and plants. And tortoises are traditionally herbivores, even though they might snack on the occasional protein of an animal every now and then. It's not going to be something that needs to be in their diet. These guys can live only on herbivore diet. Vegetarian, vegan. That is a big difference as well. And that makes a lot of sense that they would eat more plants than animals, right? Because guess what? Tortoises are not fast, are they? Tortoises are very slow. He doesn't move very quickly at all. You've seen him walk around a little bit. Now, the hotter they get and more warm they get, the more faster they might be able to move. And the colder he is, the slower he might be. But in general, a tortoise isn't made to move fast. They are very, very slow and steady, aren't they? just like the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise won by being slow and steady and being consistent, not by being fast like the hare. So that makes sense. They wouldn't be running after animals to eat them, right? That would be silly to see a tortoise like running after food items on, in the jungle where they're from and catching animals. They don't do that. They eat things like grass and plants and flowers and fruits that fall from the trees, etc. And that is what they do. Another difference is going to be their feet. Like I mentioned, these guys are heavy-bodied. He's not very heavy because he's still small, but in general, he's a heavy-bodied animal. He is not buoyant. He can't float. He can sink in water. That's what would happen if he were to go into deep water. These guys might wander into a mud puddle or go underneath the rain to get some nice hydration from the rain, and they do enjoy and are around nice humidity whenever they are in the wild. And here I have to make sure he gets regular baths. He just had a bath today to get ready for you guys. He had his shell oiled today. He looks so pretty. And they have to have the proper hydration, nice humidity, etc. But they can't like go into some deep water into the river and go swimming like a turtle can. He can't do that. And because of that, because of his heavy-ish body, he has to have really, really strong legs that can lift his heavy shell and body, which are called elephantine legs. He's got really, really thick tree trunk-like legs, which remind us of elephant's legs, and we call that elephantine. Elephantine. So similar to the diet of an elephant, these guys also eat a lot of grass and plants and things. Grass is going to be kind of a main part of their diet, right, Shelton? So Shelton eats a lot of grass, hay in the wintertime as well. It's not winter anymore, so he's eating grass outside, which is really good for them. It helps them get all their fiber. He also gets salads and fruits and vegetables on occasion. Now, the vegetables that I give him are better for him than fruits. Fruits make their diet very watery. And if they need extra hydration, you can give them some fruits to kind of help them. But fruits have a lot of sugar as well. And some vegetables have a lot of sugar, like carrots and sweet potato. So we have to be careful with the amounts of those that they get. So Shelton gets a salad with dark greens, like collard greens, for example. Mustard greens are really good for them, and mixed baby greens as well. The darker the better. Those are very, very good for your reptiles that eat them. And he also gets occasional sweet potato, occasional carrot, just like kind of sprinkled every now and then. It's kind of a treat item, honestly. Lots of grass, hay in the winter, occasional tortoise pellets, which have some vitamins and minerals in there. But he also does get, I said also twice, he also does get calcium powder and vitamin powder to help keep him healthy and get all of his vitamins and minerals that he needs too. Now, I'm sure you guys would like to see his diet. Let me see if I have a question here. Richard says, oh, here's a good question. How long could Shelton survive if he had no food source? These guys can live a long time without eating. I don't know how long exactly, but I would venture to say for many months without eating. I've known tortoises to survive. I've heard stories, rather. It hasn't been like under my care or anything like that. I would never do this. But I've heard stories of tortoises escaping and then being found like years later. And who knows if they got food. And I'm talking about escaping into like a building, not like outside where they have grass and plants to eat. That would be tragic as well. But I heard a story one time, I think it was a box turtle that actually escaped into a warehouse, and they didn't find it for many, many years. And the thing was still alive. So I imagine they really could, if they really had to, survive for months, if not a year or so. But we wouldn't do that to him, right? We don't want to test that out. Let's go ahead and feed him right now. I think you guys would like to see a salad. So here's our tortoise, right? Here's his salad that I prepared for him today. He's got dark leafy greens, like I talked about, just a teeny little bit of sweet potato. I bet he can smell it. So tortoises do have a sense of smell. They have not the greatest hearing, but they can hear a little bit. When I walk outside and he hears my voice, he usually comes out of his hide and he'll check out if he's got snacks or not. So he comes out regardless of snacks. So I know he's not smelling the snacks. He might be smelling me, I guess. They can hear a little bit, but not great hearing. They have pretty good eyesight and a good sense of smell. So when you see a tortoise's throat moving in and out, let me show you his throat really fast before I set him down to eat. See that throat kind of pumping in and out like a frog? He's not a frog, he's a tortoise, but that will tell you that he's actually smelling. He's using his sense of smell. He's got nostrils to smell with. I think he's noticing his salad now. I'm sure he was smelling it earlier. Maybe he'll just sit there and eat for you guys. He's so cute when he eats. So yeah, I feel like they could probably survive quite a long time, although it wouldn't be the best for them. Obviously, we don't want to do that to our animals ever. But these guys, if they don't have a food source for a long time, they can probably survive. Now, this is a tropical species that would hardly ever go through any kind of cold weather or big seasonal change or anything like that. So I don't know how well this particular species would do with kind of a lack of food because they don't hibernate. So animals like box turtles, which is, I think, was the animal that happened with the warehouse story. I'm pretty sure it was a box turtle. Box turtles go through a bermation or hibernation from time to time because they're from the United States. So the United States does have seasons, right? So box turtles and other turtles like red-eared sliders and other things like that, they go through a dormant state called bermation, which is like hibernation for reptiles. Many reptiles do this that live in cooler environments from time to time when they have those seasonal changes to survive. And therefore, oh my goodness, he's so cute. And therefore, they would probably survive a lot longer without food, if that makes sense, because their body is designed for that from time to time. I hope that answers your question. That was an excellent question. Reptiles can survive a lot better than mammals and birds without eating because we are not ectothermic like they are. We're endothermic, meaning warm-blooded, which means humans and other mammals and birds, etc., we have our own body temperature that stays relatively the same all the time, and unless we're sick or something like that, right? But reptiles are designed to pretty much adapt to whatever temperatures around them. Now, to digest their food, they have to go into the sun to get ultraviolet rays and be able to process all their calcium and other minerals and things to be able to grow and actually digest. They have to warm their body to digest. So during that bermation, they're not going to be eating anything. So they're going to have to go into that dormant state, pretty much rest that whole time, not eat. And otherwise they can have food that doesn't digest in their belly, right? And that's not good for them. So as you can see, he's eating with a beak. That is another feature of all turtles and tortoises, whether they be a turtle or a tortoise. We talked about some of the differences, like the heavier shell. I didn't mention this, but tortoises typically have a rounded shell. There are a couple of, maybe more than a couple of species that have a flat shell, and they're still a tortoise. One is the pancake tortoise. Those are cool. They're flat like a pancake. And the other one is going to be the hingeback tortoise that comes to my mind. I'm sure there might be other ones, but I know those two are exceptions to the rounded rule. But all tortoises have a heavier shell, regardless of being round or flat. And tortoises have elephantine legs that look like tree trunks that they walk around on land, designed for land, not for water. They don't swim and typically have a primarily herbivorous diet. I think he's finding the sweet potato now. He's like, ooh, I smell sweet potato today. It's not something he gets every day. I wanted to give him special treats for being out here today with you guys. Well, it's good to see each and every one of you tuning in. Are there any other viewers out there that are going to chime in for me and let me know that you are there, and let me know if you have any questions? If not, that's okay. You guys can watch it another time, I suppose. So these guys do have a beak, whether they are a turtle or a tortoise. Turtles and tortoises do not have teeth like lizards or snakes or crocodilians. All the other three categories of reptiles, right? Those all have teeth. He doesn't. He has a beak instead, no teeth. Kind of like a bird, which is very interesting to me. Two very different animals. There are other animals that have beaks too, like squids. Squids have beaks. Isn't that random? I always thought that was so cool. They have a very hard beak, which can munch on very hard vegetables sometimes. So they might occasionally find something a little crunchier out there in nature or here to be able to eat into those items. But typically they're going to be eating very tough grasses and natural plants, weeds and things. That's something he also gets here. He does eat grass outside when he's outside. We try to keep him outside as much as we can. Him and his friend, we have another red-footed tortoise. He has a tortoise friend. His name is Frank Sinatra. You've probably seen him on another program. Shelton, John, and Frank Sinatra, or Frank for short. And Shelton and Frank both like their grasses. I would say that Shelton likes grasses more than Frank does, which I find so interesting. Frank is a little pickier. Right now he's eating a piece of sweet potato, well, Shelton is, and a piece of collard greens. He's found kind of a harder piece of collard green. Let me help him out. Now, sometimes you'll see these guys using their feet. I knew he was going to do that, to kind of move the food item around to kind of like help him like break through something. But like I said, in nature, they're going to eat like kind of tougher grasses and weeds and things. And here in my care, he also does get grasses and natural weeds. Now, we don't want to be doing that with our tortoises at home unless you are 100% sure that your weeds have not been contaminated with pesticides or something like that. Which brings up a good point. We want to be careful with pesticides in general. So when we use things like pesticides and poisons, where are you going? Are you finished? He's like, I'm done. I retired from the program. Please don't retire from the program. I'm still talking about you. We want to make sure that if we are using pest control, that it's not going to harm other animals in nature, right? We want to just be able to eliminate those harmful animals like mosquitoes, etc. There are certain things that you can use. Obviously, I'm not an expert when it comes to pest control, but there are pest control experts out there that can help you out, that are not harmful to like reptiles and other harmless animals. We want to make sure that when we eliminate our pests, that we are not eliminating our animals that help us with pests and animals that aren't, they're just minding their own business in their own backyard, in their own environment, which might be your backyard. So we want to make sure and not use some of those things, right? That's one way we can help out animals. Another way we can help out turtles is by using less plastic. You might be familiar with sea turtles and their problems with plastic right now in the ocean. That goes for all animal species all over the world. All animal species all over the world might come across plastic in some way, shape, or form. And plastic does not actually go back into the earth and disappear like maybe like cardboard or paper or something like that. Those things need to be recycled too. I'm not saying that, but especially plastic. Plastic should be eliminated from your life as much as possible. I know we can't totally do that, but we can do our best to use less plastic. Never ever use plastic straws that are going to be thrown away because those items usually aren't recyclable and it's just adding to more plastic trash. Things like plastic bottles as well. We want to use reusable plastic bottles or reusable anything over and over again rather than adding to the trash, right? We want to recycle as much as possible if we cannot eliminate that trash in our life. He is so cute when he tries to pick up his food. Oh my gosh. You guys are being very quiet out there. Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Angela, for tuning in. So far, so good with you guys. Hello, anyone out there? I usually have a lot more people talking to me. I think that you guys are getting out and about a little bit more, which I find fantastic. I think we're getting through all of this together, aren't we? Hopefully soonish, this will be all over and we can be back out in society again. We are looking forward to seeing you guys in person for animal encounters. But if you can't do that, or you don't want to do that yet, or maybe you're not in the Texas area, we can actually bring animals to you via Zoom room right now, which is pretty fun. And you saw our commercial for that. Those have been a lot of fun. I really like seeing everybody's faces in the Zoom encounters. I can actually like see who I'm talking to, which is awesome. Who asked questions about our tortoise? I'm surprised nobody does, besides Richard. Thanks, Richard. Like I said, we can eliminate a lot of plastic. Pesticides are another great way to help out animals in general. What else can we do for animals? If you guys are interested in ever having a tortoise or another reptile in your life as an animal companion or pet, we want to make sure and resource those in a responsible way, right? So we want to make sure that we are not getting animals from the wild. That affects a lot of these tortoises, not this species. Well, I'm sure it might affect these species in general, but there's another similar species that does not live in South America, but it lives all the way across the world in Madagascar, which is in the continent of Africa, but an island next to Africa. There's a species out there known as the radiated tortoise. I used to work with radiated tortoises before at Dallas Zoo and other places. And radiated tortoises are endangered, unfortunately, partially due to them being taken out of the wild for poaching reasons. So poaching could be like them taking the shells or and using the shells to make items like trinkets and things, which is something we don't want to support. They also might take these animals out of the wild for pets, which is not great. We want to make sure and support captive bred animals that are raised for pets, not animals taken out of the wild, okay? So if you guys ever want a pet tortoise, not necessarily a bad thing. You want to do your research to make sure and take the best care of that tortoise that you can. Make sure you have every ability to be able to give it all the things that it needs and have a vet ready in case you have an injury or you have an issue with your tortoise or any reptile, right? But even if you are prepared for all of that, you want to make sure to source your animal from a very, very good breeder or good and reputable source, right? We don't want to be taking animals out of the wild. You got some food on your face there, buddy. Oh my gosh. I think he really likes the sweet potato today. That's going to be something that affects animals like radiated tortoises and other endangered species is pressure on them for the pet trade. So if we're supporting other sources, that's not necessary, to take them out of the wild anymore. So in my opinion, that's a very good thing to support if you guys are wanting a pet, anything, honestly, anything, even a dog. We want to adopt if we can. He's an adopted animal from a rescue source. So that's another available source for reptiles and all kinds of exotics and things. If you guys want to pet anything and you're ready for that pet, like I said, you can look for a rescue. That is a great thing to do. And you can save that animal's life. Pretty awesome. That's what we did with Shelton. Or you can look for somebody very responsible to get your animals from. If you guys have any questions about that, let me know. Let's see. Okay, Ricky has a question. Hi, Ricky. Why are there tortoises or turtles with rough/soft shells? Ooh, what is the purpose? Here we go with purpose questions. I love these. Okay, so Tortoises have hard shells. Most turtles have hard shells, but there are some turtles that have soft shells and slimy bodies. Now, as far as why or what the purpose is, I know that those slimy type turtles, it's pretty neat to look up. Soft-shelled turtles, there is a thing. They still have a hard beak underneath their soft kind of face. They have a very, very soft, squishy face. Are you just going to leave? Don't leave. Stay here. Stay here and eat for everyone. I think they want to see you eat. Let's get him situated before I start talking, and he just walks away. But what I was going to say is there are soft-shelled turtles, and they are very, very streamlined underwater. It's definitely an aquatic animal. So those soft-shell turtles are highly aquatic. You would almost never see them out on dry land. I've seen them crossing the road sometimes in Florida when I used to live in Florida, but that's super rare. They're usually going to be under the water all the time. So similar to like an amphibian, that's one of the few slimy reptiles is a soft-shelled turtle. They're not really super slimy, but they're smooth and kind of to touch. They're kind of strange. Something to look up. I wish I had a soft-shelled turtle to show you guys. They're very squishy, but that's going to partially help them to stay nice and moist underwater, and it's going to help them to be streamlined underwater and move quickly through the water to get away from danger or get after their prey, because soft-shelled turtles go after prey in the water like fish. Let me see. Here's a good question. Richard is saying, I think I read that tortoises can absorb hydration through their tail. Is that true? Most reptiles can absorb hydration if they're soaking in general, just like generally in their body. He certainly does. This is a species that would go into mud puddles, and a lot of tortoises do this. They'll kind of get mud all over them to help with parasites and flies. They'll also get mud on them to stay hydrated and maybe for sunscreen purposes too. I don't know if it's sunscreen necessarily, because this is an animal that would bask in the sun all the time, so that might be wrong. But I know a lot of animals use mud for sunscreen, right? But these animals certainly do absorb hydration in general from their body. Let me get rid of your question there. That way you can see our beautiful tortoise while we're talking about him, right? But they do absorb through their vent, and their vent is where they're going to use the restroom. So on birds and reptiles, they have a vent, and it's one track to be able to use the restroom. Well, defecate, urinate, lay eggs, and mate. That is what a vent does. Or a cloaca is another word for that. And they're going to be able to absorb water through that area of their body. For him, it is on the tail. I hate to interrupt his eating, but a tortoise's tail is here. His vent is also kind of there, or his cloaca is kind of like, sorry, buddy, I know I'm showing all your private parts, but that's where that is. So yeah, they can kind of absorb, he's like, I'm leaving now. How rude. That's where they're going to absorb some of their moisture if they go into a puddle of water or something like that, or if I soak him. But they also absorb it, just in general. And this is a very humid weather tortoise, humid climate tortoise. So just having that rainfall in general, high humidity is really good for them too. Hope that answers your question. So yes and no. Here's a great question from Angela. Hi, Angela. Once again, is there a particular species that would be better as a starter pet? So for a tortoise or a reptile in general, I'm going to talk a little bit about other reptiles today. But for a tortoise, I would probably say a redfoot is a pretty decent pet tortoise. They don't get too enormous, but when they do get around 25 pounds, that is going to still be a pretty large animal to keep. A Russian tortoise might be a better option because they get no larger than this. A Russian tortoise will pretty much max out at what Shelton's size is now. So if you imagine a cute little yellow tortoise with longer nails, Russian tortoises have longer, cute toenails in the front especially. And they are kind of a yellowy golden color all over. That's probably a good starter tortoise. All tortoises and turtles, etc., are pretty high maintenance, honestly, for a reptile. They are going to need the proper diet, and if you don't get that diet right, they're not going to do very well. So we want to make sure that we do a lot of studying and research on what we should be feeding these guys, right? We also want to have a vet ready in case something goes wrong. Female tortoises tend to have egg issues, so a lot of them won't lay their eggs, and they'll get what we call egg bound. I know you know what I'm talking about, Angela. And yes, and that can be an issue too. So there's a lot of things to think about. But a Russian tortoise doesn't get very large, so they're a little bit easier to house properly. Tortoises and turtles should be outside partially, at least some of the time, in my opinion, to get natural sunlight. That is very important for most reptiles, but especially for tortoises and like iguanas and things like that do a lot of sunbathing to get the proper ultraviolet light. Inside, they should also have an ultraviolet lamp as well, but that is never going to fully replace what the natural sun can do. So it really just kind of depends, but Russian tortoises are smaller, like I said, so that's probably a good one. Redfoot tortoises are really friendly and really sweet, and also pretty easy to take care of when it comes to being a tortoise. They're a little bit higher humidity than a Russian tortoise is. I'm trying to think of any other issues, and if I think about it, I'll get back to you. But they are like they'll need more humidity. They'll need a bigger enclosure, obviously. Tortoise enclosures have to be very sturdy as well. I do not recommend a sulcata tortoise. A lot of people want a really cute baby tortoise called a sulcata or African spur-thighed tortoise. Those guys are very, very strong. They get huge. You would need basically a whole backyard or like farm to keep them on. And they're very hard to contain. They're one of the top tortoises that actually escapes because they can push right through a fence or through your walls and actually just keep on going. They have really big like kind of spikes on their shell, especially the males, and they're very, very strong. They can push things over. They get huge, and it's really hard to keep those guys kind of in a properly sized enclosure. They start off very small, so a lot of people will buy a baby tortoise like that, and they think, oh, that's great. But very quickly, those tortoises are going to get absolutely enormous. And I can't remember how much they weigh, but they weigh a lot, and they live a long time. So smaller tortoises I would recommend over larger tortoises. Box turtles make pretty decent turtle pets too. I don't really recommend water turtles for anybody unless you're just like all about those water turtles and you want to be cleaning constantly. Those guys are very, very dirty. So I hope that answers your question. Russian tortoises and probably redfoot tortoises. Let me just check my camera's timer really fast before I run out of time. So I use a special camera, in case you didn't know, or haven't seen my show before. I use a very special camera, but the timer only lasts 30 minutes. So sometimes I have to check on that. Let's see. Hello, Sophia. Nice to see you once again. I hope you're enjoying our tortoise talk so far. We're getting ready to switch animals. And it looks like Donna is also watching too. Hello, Donna. Wonderful. Now, if you guys have any further questions about tortoise care or pet care in general, feel free to contact me anytime, as always. Okay, Shelton, you're very cute. I'm going to let you finish your salad over here next to me, and we're going to switch animals, aren't we? He's like, I don't care. So I'm just going to move him over. Show you how cute he is when he eats. Oh my gosh. Look at that cute tortoise face. They remind me of like E.T. or something. They are just adorable. His beautiful eyes. Oh my gosh. I'm going to set him down over here so he can finish his salad in peace. And we're going to switch over to another animal that is very, very different, but also another reptile. Okay. I'm going to move this. I actually had that set there in case he decided to use the restroom, because tortoises go to the bathroom more than any other reptile species ever. Tortoises and turtles go to the bathroom a lot, which is why water turtles are so messy and dirty usually. Donna says he's a cutie. Yes, he is. Shelton John is so cute. Okay, so let's go ahead and meet another reptile. I almost said another tortoise, but it's not. This here is Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is a beautiful corn snake. Here she is. Corn snakes are a native of the United States. So we went to South America, and now we're going to the US to learn about our next species. Harley Quinn is a beautiful corn snake. This is what they look like naturally in the wild. They are primarily found on the East Coast. So like in Florida and Georgia, sometimes in Louisiana, all those states over there on the East Coast, kind of southeast. They might venture out into different states from time to time. And these guys are an excellent pet reptile. I highly recommend corn snakes to most anybody wanting a snake or a reptile pet. Tortoises are very high maintenance. Corn snakes are very low maintenance and very, very easy to house. They don't get too big. She is a teenager-sized corn snake. She's what we call a juvenile-sized. These guys get no larger than around 5 foot. That would be a very large corn snake. But they are very slender and don't need a ton of room. And they're very easy to get their humidity and temperatures right because they are a snake living in the United States. They don't need a ton of humidity, but they also don't need to be very dry either. They're kind of right in between. They do go through seasonal changes, so their temperature tolerations are very, very high. They can tolerate many different temperatures. You should always try to keep them comfortable, of course, but they're very easy to keep happy. They're also very easy to feed. Now, I did mention we're talking about reptiles eating today, or animal feedings. I'm not going to feed her today because I'm holding her, and with snakes, they are carnivores. So we just met an herbivore. Now we're meeting a carnivore, a snake. All snakes do not eat salad or fruits and vegetables, so I will not be feeding her a salad today. That would be very weird. Some snakes eat bugs. Some snakes eat eggs. Some snakes eat other snakes. Some snakes eat frogs. Most snakes eat rodents. Most snakes eat birds. So that's some things that snakes can eat, of course. This type of snake is mostly a rodent-eating snake. She is in the rat snake family. So it really should be called the rodent snake family because most rat snakes can't really eat rats unless it's a tiny rat. Most rat snakes eat mice and other smaller rodents because most rat snakes don't get very large. There are many rat snake species though, and some can get large enough to eat smaller rats. And there are a few that can eat medium to larger size rats, but that's pretty rare. Harley Quinn has beautiful coloration. That's why we call her that. She has this coloration on the top, on the dorsal, right? And then she's got this coloration on the belly, which is the ventral. So when we talk about animals, they have a dorsal, which is their back or top side. And we have their ventral, which is their belly. Ventral scales, dorsal scales. Ventral scales, dorsal scales. Richard has a good question. Is her color pretty standard or is there a wide variance? So in the wild, they mostly look like this. There might be a little bit of variety here and there. Maybe a little more red, maybe a little more yellow. Yeah, she's got a little bit of yellow on her sides there, right here. Maybe a little darker black, maybe not. She just shed, so she's absolutely gorgeous right now. This is the prettiest she'll ever be. She literally just shed yesterday. And every individual is going to have a different pattern, etc. That is in the wild. This is what they look like for the most part. But in human care, these guys have been bred to have many, many different colors and patterns. Almost every color you can think of, these guys actually come in, which is a great other reason to get these as a pet. If you guys want just like a special colored snake, they come in almost everything you can think of. And they're very docile, as you can see. I forgot to mention that as well. They're very sweet. They eat great. They don't have any eating issues. Almost never have any eating issues whatsoever. Easy to keep happy. And kind of move around a lot. I kind of like how they're more active than, like, say, like a ball python. I like ball pythons too. Ball pythons tend to have picky eating issues, humidity issues, shedding issues, all the things. Sometimes not. Sometimes every now and then you get a really, really easy ball python, but a lot of those have a lot of issues. Sometimes they're still a sweet, docile snake, but corn snakes are sweet and docile, a little more active, which I kind of like. A little softer as well. These guys are very smooth and soft. They almost look slimy, but they're not. Not like the soft-shelled turtle. They're just soft scales, very, very soft. A lot softer than the tortoise. And they do come in a wide variety of colors. Like I said, this is the standard color and my favorite. It's called the Okatee, or just natural red-colored corn snake. The other name for the corn snake is the red rat snake. So that is another name for this snake. They're in the rat snake family. That was a great question. I know you guys would probably like to see her eat. I do have some videos of her eating if you'd like to see that. I'm not going to feed her live on camera today because I wasn't prepared for that today. And so sorry about that, but I wanted to hold her instead. So when you hold snake, like I was saying earlier, they're carnivores. So I don't want to be holding her and associating her associating me with feeding and things like that. So I tend to feed her and then let her be for a day or two, at least a day or two. Because number one, she's digesting. I don't want to upset her stomach by holding her after she eats. Also, I don't want her to associate me with feeding. So I feed her on feeding tongs like this when I do feed her, and she's going to take the mouse and then she will eat it. And I'm going to show you how she does that with a video instead, since I have some of those saved up. I have a couple of them to show you, actually. So we're going to do that really fast. Let me get rid of our backdrop really fast. We'll go to this backdrop. How about that? And let's watch. So in this video, she's already got the mouse in her mouth. She usually eats either a mouse, like a fuzzy mouse, or a little bit bigger than a fuzzy mouse, maybe a hopper, or I take it back. She's on hoppers now. So hoppers are kind of like teenager mice. So she's either on teenager mice or she's on pinky rats. And I believe she's eating a pinky rat in this video here. So let's go ahead and watch. I think I went too fast. This is a time-lapse video as well. So it's a lot faster, of course, than it would normally be. She doesn't normally eat that fast, like a crazy snake. That's just to speed it up. That way you can see her eating. Snakes do not chew their food. They do not eat their food in bites. They eat their food all in one gulp. And how can she do that? Where she's got a specialized jaw, which is very different than a human's jaw. We are kind of like a puppet. We have a jaw like that. Can you see the small screen over here I'm doing? That's our jaw. Boring. These guys have an amazing jaw, which is kind of segmented into different sections. Pretty cool. That's how she can do that. And how that looks inside of a snake skeleton, if you look at a snake skeleton, you can actually see this. They don't have any fusion right here. So it's a big gap right here. They're also very flexible in their jaws here when they open their mouth. So they can open their mouth very wide this way and kind of even wide this way if these were the two jaws. Ignore the snake. So they can go like this, very, very wide, and have a nice gap there to make lots of room. And then they're also split this way. So they can, especially their bottom jaw can open really, really wide. And they just make a ton of room, and they can eat that little mouse all in one bite. A snake can actually eat something about 3 to 4 times the size of their head, or the size of the fattest part of their body. So on a slender-bodied snake, they can actually eat something about 3 times the size of their head. On a fat-bodied snake, like a ball python, those guys can eat something 4 times the size of their head. Still impressive. Let's watch one more, because I've got 2 videos for you guys. Let me see. Hang on 1 second, please. I can still see her while we're figuring out our video situation. There we go. There's one. Cool. There's another one. This one's going to go pretty quickly. She's already kind of coiled around the, I believe this, in this case, is a mouse, and she's going to eat it, of course. Let's watch that. Ooh, another time lapse. Yum. That might have been another pinky rat as well. So it's either pinky rats or it is teenage mice that she's eating right now. And those food items will get bigger as she gets bigger. The biggest she'll be able to eat is probably an adult mouse or a very, very small fuzzy rat. Wasn't that cool? I love watching them eat. They are so interesting. Okay. Let's get back to your comments so I can see what's going on over here. But yes, her color is the wild coloration. So this is like the standard or wild coloration. It's my favorite just because it's amazing just the way it is. But like I said, corn snakes are bred for all kinds of different patterns, colors. They even have what's called a scaleless corn snake nowadays, which I can't even begin to explain that because I'm not a snake breeder and I'm not a geneticist. So I don't know how they did that, but it's pretty cool. It's just a mutation that somebody figured out how to breed and selectively breed for. Pretty cool. What questions do you guys have? I know snakes are sometimes misunderstood, right? Snakes are very different than us because they don't have any legs. They're cold-blooded. They have scales. They don't chew their food. They have a kind of a strange tongue that comes out of their mouth all the time. So some people are a little bit nervous around snakes. This is a great way to learn about snakes if you're nervous, right? But there's nothing to be nervous about when it comes to this snake because she's not poisonous nor venomous. Did you know that venom and poison are different things? So venom has to be injected into the bloodstream to be able to affect you. And poison, you have to eat it yourself or put it onto your skin, and your skin absorbs the poison. An easy way to remember that is that, what am I thinking of? Snow White and the poison apple. Snow White and the poison apple, the apple did not bite her, right? It's not venom, it's poison. She bit the apple. Now, if that apple had been a venomous snake, it would have bitten her, and then she would have gotten poison and then, or envenomated, I should say, and put under a long nap like she was in the story, right? That's an easy way to remember that. Venom also includes animals like bees and wasps and scorpions and spiders. They all have venom for different reasons, right? Now, venom is used mostly to be able to do away with their food. So snakes come in all different kinds of snakes, obviously different species. And all snakes have different methods of killing their prey. Remember, these guys are carnivores. They don't eat salad and fruits and vegetables. They might constrict if they're a constrictor. They might use venom if they are a venomous snake. And that's going to be used to do away with their prey, not to hurt you. Their venom is precious to them if they are a venomous snake. This is a non-venomous snake, of course. Corn snakes are totally harmless to humans. She has teeth and no fangs and no venom at all. No venom glands, no nothing. But these guys are... well, let's talk about snakes in general. They have venom, but that's what they use their venom for, is to bite their prey. That prey is pre-digested for them. That prey dies, and they're able to eat it. So venomous snakes will bite, usually let go. There are some exceptions. Some venomous snakes will bite and hold on if they're like in a tree and they're biting a flying bird or something like that. They'll hold on to it. That way it doesn't fall. Some of those tree vipers and things. But most venomous snakes will bite, let go, wait for that animal to pass away because it's safer for them to be away from that dying animal, frankly, and then they'll come back and eat it. But that's what their venom is for, not to hurt a human. A lot of people don't like venomous snakes, right? I understand. They're dangerous. Don't touch them. I don't recommend hurting any wildlife or touching any wildlife whatsoever or anything. You want to leave them alone. And their job in nature is to eat rodents and other animals that might cause us problems. So we want to leave them alone to do their job. Ha ha ha. How are we this far and you haven't said colubrid yet? It is one of my new favorite words. Colubrid is a cool word. So colubrid is one type of category of snakes. I know, I think I say it too much, but you're welcome. I've said it now. And you said it for me. Fantastic. I love that you're learning new words. Colubrid is also a cool science word. So colubrids are just a type of snake. This is a colubrid. Colubrids include corn snakes, rat snakes, king snakes, hognose snakes, indigo snakes, bull snakes, gopher snakes, all kinds of things are colubrids. So those are kind of like the leftover category of snakes. When we talk about snakes, you've got venomous, non-venomous colubrids. You've got non-venomous constrictors. Yeah, so all kinds of categories. Fantastic. Thank you, Donna, for tagging your friends, as always. I really like that you do that. Now, snakes, I said, are misunderstood. If you ever have a snake problem, first of all, take a photo of that snake from a safe distance and send it to an expert like myself. I will help you identify the snake. I love doing that for people. I always appreciate people doing the right thing and sending me photos of the snake first. You want to make sure what kind of snake it is. If you know that it's harmless, you can just observe it from a distance and enjoy that snake for a little while until it moves on about its business. Snakes on your property are actually a good thing because they're helping you lower the rodent population. That is fantastic. Other animals to invite on your property to help with rodents are animals like owls. You can actually build or buy an owl nest box that will help you with rodents, and that will actually lessen the amount of snakes that are on your property if you're not a snake fan like myself, because the owls will be taking care of those rodents for you, and owls sometimes eat snakes too. So there you go. That might help you. So an owl nest box is a really cool thing to look up how to build, or to just buy one. If you're like me and you don't really want to build one, you just want to buy one already made for you, you can do that. That's pretty neat. How you can help snakes, the best thing you can do for them, leave them alone, and tell all of your friends and family to please leave snakes alone. Do not harm them. Do not pick them up. Never pick up any wildlife if you don't know what you're doing and you're not an expert. Right, Harley? We don't want anybody picking up any wildlife. We want to make sure the wildlife stays alive and stays safe. And we want to make sure that you stay safe too, because we don't want anybody getting harmed by wildlife too. Okay, if you guys ever have any questions about snakes, feel free to text me anytime, call me anytime, message me on Facebook, message me on Instagram. Whatever you want to do, contact me in some way. I don't mind. I don't care what time it is. I would rather you ask me than take care of the problem yourself, okay? That is very responsible. There are many professionals out there that can help you out with any pest animal of any kind, but snakes are actually not considered to be a pest because most of the time they are doing us good work and not out to harm you. No snake wants to harm you. They want to leave you alone if you leave them alone. The only time that a snake wants to harm you is if you are trying to harm it, or they think you are. Okay, Harley, you've been a fantastic snake. Are you guys ready to meet an animal that you've never seen on a live stream before? I'm kind of excited to show you guys our final animal because he's never been on live stream, and I'm sure you're going to love him. So let me check my camera really fast. I'm going to disappear for a hot second to get ready. Are you excited? Let's see here. Brand, I want to make sure everything's good. Oh, yes. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, do you guys see this guy in my hands? I wonder if you know what kind of lizard this is. It is a lizard. I don't know if he's in focus or not. I think I am over here. Do you guys see our lizard? You can tell me what species this is. I bet you guys know. It's a very, very popular type of lizard. Let me get back to y'all's comments really fast. So this here is Zizi. Zizi is a really cool Australian species. The species comes from Australia, like I said. And he is so cute. Let's stand him up so you guys can see him a little bit better. I have to position him. One really cool thing about this species is they are very tolerant of handling. He might try to wander off a little bit, but they are very, very good to hold. You guys see them? See if we can focus a little bit better. Maybe, maybe not. I've got some guesses as to what species we have. What do you guys think it is? So this animal right here is an omnivore. We met a carnivore with the snake, right? And we met an herbivore. Which way is on the camera? Right here. There we go. We met an herbivore with the tortoise. This is an omnivore, meaning they eat both salads, fruits and vegetables, and other animals. All right. Dragons. Yes, indeed. And Ricardo, you are correct. It is a bearded dragon. This is Zizi, the bearded dragon. And bearded dragons eat both, like I said, fruits and vegetables, plants in general, and they'll also eat insects. Now, bearded dragons come from Australia. Australia is where they come from in the wild. But you might have seen a bearded dragon as somebody's pet. I do recommend bearded dragons for pets because they are very tolerant of handling, they are very sweet-natured, and they do pretty well in human care. There are a lot of things to consider, though. With keeping a bearded dragon, you have to get their temperatures correct. Their humidity has to be very low. They should not have really any humidity whatsoever. I can look up your parameters and get back to you guys on that. I don't want to misquote the parameters. I'll look it up for you guys, but it's very low. So they don't need any misting or anything like that. In fact, they rarely drink water. They get most of their hydration from their food. So their food is going to be things like insects, worms, and salads from time to time. And Zizi here gets salad about 2 or 3 times a week. And he gets bugs at least every, I would say 3 or 4 times a week. He gets at least some kind of insect to eat. His favorite are super worms. I'm going to feed him some super worms here in a little bit. I bet you guys would like to see that. But first, we're going to talk about him, and then we'll feed him here in a little bit. So Zizi, you might have been wondering why the heck you haven't seen Zizi on a program before. Well, I did want to talk to you guys. A nice beard, bro. Yes, so bearded dragon. Oh, you too. You too. You guys look similar. Maybe I should have named him Richard instead of Zizi. I named him Zizi because of ZZ Top, of course, the famous bearded band. And I love music, so we have a lot of musical themed animals, as you saw with Shelton John. Harley Quinn was just kind of a fun, nerdy name to give her because of the pattern. It reminds me of Harley Quinn. But ZZ is named after that band, right? The rock band, ZZ Top. But they're called a bearded dragon because they have those really neat scales on their chin that look like a beard. Now, he doesn't have a beard because he's a reptile and not a mammal or a tarantula, right? He doesn't have hair. So it's not a real beard, but he does look like he has a beard. And bearded dragons can use their beard for communication. So this type of lizard is really neat. Out there in nature, they will use sign language or body language, not really sign language, but body language to communicate with one another. So just to give you a little picture, they're from Australia. I said that already. Bearded dragons are found all over Australia. This is a Centralian bearded dragon, which is the most common kind that you see in the care of humans. And that is going to be the most common type of bearded dragon in Australia as well. They're kind of centralized in Australia. They live mostly in the warmer climated areas. These guys do burmate, like I said before, with some of our animals that burmate and actually do go through kind of a cooler temperature period in their year. So Australia does get cold sometimes, but in general, they live in a pretty warm climate, pretty arid climate, very dry, like I said before, not necessarily desert all the time, but they might live in a drier like scrub or forested region. These guys will have territories. So a male will have his own territory with many females living within that territory, usually around 10 to 15 females, maybe more or less, depending on the situation. The more females for him, the better, right? Because the more babies he can have, these guys live in a harem situation. So they will guard their territories in the wild. And then they will actually defend their territories with body language. So if he sees if he sees a female, it's a very different story, right? They might mate with a female, try to attract the mates, but I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But if he sees another male bearded dragon, it's going to be totally different. That's a little better. These guys will actually start to defend their territory, but they'll first warn each other before they just start defending themselves. They'll actually stand up like this, kind of like, well, more like this. Yes, Zizi, I'm doing the thing. He's like, where are the foods? I smell foods. Oh my goodness, so cute. But these guys will stand up kind of on their forelegs like this, like kind of flex their muscles, show their chest like this, and puff out their neck. They'll puff out that beard, and the beard will actually stand out like this, and it might even change colors. Right now, he's got a nice orange color on his beard once he looks back the other way at you guys. Look over there. But he does have an orange, beautiful color. He's on his, he wants to eat the plant maybe. He's on his like kind of relaxed colors right now. He's not angry or anything. But if he were to get like angry at another male, his beard might turn black. and he would puff out his beard. Yes. He's like, what? Other males where? You can see that orange beard now. That black beard will tell those other males that he is ready to battle if he has to. So he's going to stand up straight, show his beard, and say, ugh. And he might even like get after the males. He might even head bob a little bit to show other males to stay out of his territory. That is really good communication. They are very visual animals. They have great eyesight. And if that other male does not back down, they are going to battle royale. They are going to defend he's going to defend his territory, and the other male is going to try to come into his territory to get those females. He's not going to let that happen, right? So he's going to fight. Male bearded dragons do not get along with one another. If he sees a female, he's going to do a very similar thing. He's going to bob his head, puff out the beard, maybe look really handsome and kind of strut. If the female is ready to mate, she will wave at him. Are you leaving us? She will wave like this. Now, if that male does not want to fight the second male that came into the story, so he's going to show his body language like that. If the second male doesn't want to fight, he says, peace, peace, bro. Instead of showing peace signs, he's going to wave too. So the waving with the bearded dragon kind of looks like this. They wave on the side like that with their little arm. Really cute. Something to look up. He's never done it. I've never seen him do it. But that wave kind of means like, all is well. Yes, you won. You can have your way. Whether it be the female saying you can have your way in another situation, or that other male saying, it's okay, I'll leave. Don't fight me. If the female does not want to mate, she won't wave. She'll put her hands down like this and say, no, not tonight. That is not happening. And she will leave, or she will just say, no, I don't want to do that. So yeah, now these guys don't really have a breeding season, but I've heard that breeding mostly occurs after the cold happens. So when the cold happens, they go into that hibernation or brumation, right? And then, oh my goodness, he's so cute. And then they will wake up out of the brumation and start to breed. That's usually when they're going to breed, but they also breed throughout the year, so I've been told. So it may just depend on the climate. It may depend on resources. They're pretty prolific breeders. After they breed and have successful breeding, they're going to have eggs. And females can lay around 12 to 20 eggs per clutch. And they will have multiple clutches throughout the year. Isn't that cool? I think that covers the whole story about that. Pretty cool. And the bearded dragons come out. They're about this long when they're born out of the egg. Hatched out of the egg. And then they kind of go on onto their own. They don't really take care of their babies. No, you do not. Now, you guys might have been wondering why you've never seen ZZ on a program before. Look at his beautiful face. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a sad story about ZZ. So ZZ hasn't been on a virtual program yet. He used to be on many other programs in real life. He's a very good animal ambassador. He's a very sweet bearded dragon, as they tend to be. Bearded dragons are very popular because not only are they fairly easy to take care of, although you have to set them up correctly, and there's many things that can go wrong with their care for sure, just like any animal. But they tend to tolerate human interaction really well. And he's no different. He's a very sweet bearded dragon. So there's no real reason that he hasn't been on programs other than something that I haven't been telling you guys about. So I wanted to bring him on here to tell you a little bit about ZZ specifically. So something that's been going on with ZZ is he's been sick. So ZZ, unfortunately, has been showing us some signs that he has been getting sick, and it's been going on for a couple of months now. And I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about him because he's going to be a special needs bearded dragon from now on. And we're okay with that. We're okay to take care of him for the rest of his life, however long that might be. But we noticed a few months back that ZZ started to have little tremors. And you might have been noticing that already. He has little tiny shakes. It's not my hand shaking, that is him shaking. It started off very, very, very slight. I don't know if you guys can see it at all. Now that I'm talking about it, you probably can see it. See how he shakes a little bit in the head? It's mostly his head that shakes. I haven't noticed it really anywhere else in his body, thank goodness. But ZZ started having little tremors, and that could have been multiple different things. And we didn't know what was wrong with him at first. So we, of course, took him to the vet to get checked out. He had extensive blood work. He actually had blood work a couple of times to be very, very sure. His blood work came back normal, which was great, but then we didn't have any answers. Right? So it's kind of, it's great to have good results on blood work. Those of you that are animal people and you've had like cats and dogs or any other kind of animals that have had blood work and you're trying to figure out what's up with them, it's great to have normal results. In fact, he had such good results that the doctor was super duper confused. And so were we. we're like, okay, but he's having these tremors. What is happening to him? So the blood work showed nothing. The only thing that the blood work was a little bit off on were his white cell counts on his blood, which means that he might be fighting off some kind of disease. Again, he's not showing any other symptoms or signs that he's unhealthy. You saw him looking for food. He's very alert. He gets around just fine. He eats great. His feces and urates are normal. He's very alert every single day. He's always looking for me, looking for food. He seems very happy. He just has these little shimmies and shakes that he does, little tremors from now and then. Yeah, you can probably see it now. So we had him tested again, and we had a different test done, a specialized test. And that was to check for something called adenovirus. So adenovirus is a virus that bearded dragons can contract and carry. Even if they have no symptoms whatsoever, they can still be a carrier for this virus. It's a very specific strain that only affects bearded dragons, which is very, very strange. Adenovirus can present itself in other species, but this specific strain is only in bearded dragons. So unfortunately, we got those test results back, and he is positive for it. So that means that he has adenovirus, the bearded dragon version of adenovirus. Why am I telling you guys all this? I want to be very honest with you guys. We didn't have him on programs for a while because we didn't know what was wrong with him. If we were causing him added stress by being on camera or being held, we were being very careful with his care. He's always had excellent food, excellent care, all the vitamins and minerals he could ever want and need, natural sunlight, good UV lamps. I mean, anything you can imagine, we've done our very best. I want to promise you guys that we take our very best care of our animals that we possibly can. But sometimes these things happen anyway. So when my vet told me, and he's a zoological vet here in San Antonio, he has told me that he likely had it before I even had him. So sometimes these guys are a carrier of a virus and they don't show any symptoms at all. Some dragons show no symptoms whatsoever their entire life, and you would never even know they carried the virus, which is a little bit scary, right? You would never know unless we tested you for it, right, Zizi? But he did show some symptoms, which were the little shakes that he has. This virus can present itself as a neurological issue in these dragons. So that means it's affected either his spine or his brain at this point. He has no other symptoms. Typically, they have other symptoms like loose stools and lack of balance. He's a little off balance, but I wouldn't say that's really a symptom at this point. Not yet. Lack of appetite is another symptom that they get, which he doesn't have that. He's looking for food right now, even when he doesn't have any food. He probably smells his food over here, which I'm going to feed him here in a minute. You can see those little tremors though, right? That's a little bit sad. What I've been told as well is that he will be okay. He likely will have a long and happy life with us, especially. We're going to take the best care that we can of him. We're very sad that he's sick, though. But he should be okay. Since he's an older bearded dragon, he's likely going to be fine. Hopefully this is as bad as it gets. If it gets worse, we're going to take the best care of him that we possibly can and make sure that he's happy as he can be. Unfortunately, with this virus, and he is a carrier of it, the adenovirus is extremely contagious to other bearded dragons. So, unfortunately, ZZ cannot be a public program animal anymore. Because there are so many bearded dragons in the care of humans, a lot of you guys have friends and family and maybe yourself that have bearded dragons as pets. We would never want to risk that happening to your bearded dragon. So the right thing to do is to not have him in public. He will be on virtual programs. If you guys want to have him on a Zoom program or something like that, he's still going to be here with us, living his best life that he possibly can. We're going to take excellent care of him. Like I said, his blood work was perfect. So we know we're doing something right. And likely he had this from the start, from where we got him from. And there's no way they could have known either because he had no symptoms. So it's nobody's fault. It just happens sometimes. The only way he could have gotten it is from contact to contact. So either from another bearded dragon or somebody holding a bearded dragon and then holding him. And he was a carrier for a while. We've had him for over 3 years. Never showed anything wrong with him until now. So that's likely what happened. We don't have any other bearded dragons right now. We probably won't get any more bearded dragons because he is a carrier of the virus. If we do in the future choose to have more animal ambassador bearded dragons, we might. He's going to have to be in a separate building, fully quarantined, which is a little bit sad, but it's just the way it has to be. But for now, he's going to be our only bearded dragon. So I hope you guys aren't too sad about the news. I just wanted to make sure and teach you guys about that. Something to know as well, if you have a bearded dragon yourself, I highly recommend, since we did not even know and had no idea, I highly recommend getting them tested. It's something that a zoological vet can do. They basically just do a quick swab test, and they send it off to a specialist, and then you get the results usually in a week. And we were kind of hoping that we would get an answer on those results, but we're very disappointed that it is the answer that it is. So there's no cure for this virus. He's going to have it his entire life. If he gets better, great, and he doesn't have those tremors anymore, and hopefully they don't get any worse, because we love him. We don't want him to have any difficulties in life at all, just like you wouldn't want any animals to have any difficulties. Hopefully it stays the same or doesn't get any worse, and he'll be fine. But he's going to be a carrier the rest of his life, and that means he can never be touched by the public in case, you guys go and touch bearded dragons afterwards and somebody else gets sick. Right, buddy? I know. You ready to eat? That's enough bad news, I think. So that's what's been going on with ZZ. Those of you that already knew ZZ and were wondering where he was, that's what's been going on. So we weren't sure what was going on with him for months. We've been doing lots of testing, lots of trying different vitamins and different food items to see if he would get better. I've been giving him lots of natural sunlight to see if that would help. We thought maybe it was a calcium deficiency, because sometimes when calcium isn't processed correctly in their bones, they start to shimmer and shake like that. But he's not shaking in his legs, which is typically where that is shown. So we thought that was kind of weird, and so did the vet. I've worked with hundreds of bearded dragons, thousands of them in my career, never seen this before. So in a way, I'm glad that it's with me and that I know that I'm going to take the best care of him that I possibly can. He's in the right place. I hope he's going to be okay. He doesn't seem to think this is really a problem. It's more of a cosmetic thing, I think, at this point. But unfortunately, since he is a carrier of this virus, we want to be responsible. So he's going to stay right here on virtual programs. If you guys want to meet him virtually. Are you ready for worms? Everybody wants to see you eat. So if you guys want to meet ZZ on a Zoom room animal encounter, you are certainly welcome to do that. Here's a worm. You see it? Now you don't want it? Here. If he doesn't eat on camera, I don't know what to think, because he always eats. Can you see it? Super worms for you. Your favorite. Now he's like all distracted. Oh, there we go. Once he sees it, I know he's going to eat it. There we go. See, he's still eating great. So he's doing fine. Hey, Molly. So nice to see you. Is this something that can kill him or would be cured of it? So the bad news is there's no cure for this virus. It's called the adenovirus. Like I said, there are other strains of adenovirus that affect other animals. But this particular strain, don't scoot off the edge there, buddy. This particular strain of adenovirus only affects bearded dragons. So none of the other animals in my collection, I don't have any other bearded dragons currently, are going to be affected by the virus. Thank goodness, because that was my first concern. Because as you guys know, I have many reptiles. And if that would be the case, I would not be happy about that. It is highly contagious. It is not airborne. It would have to be through fecal oral contact or just general contact in general. He cannot share other food items with other bearded dragons. He cannot be in any proximity with other bearded dragons. If I were to put him on my shirt and then put another bearded dragon on my shirt, they would be a carrier too. It's very contagious, but not airborne, thank goodness. It may kill him. We don't know. Every single bearded dragon that has this virus is affected differently, which is so weird to me. So with him, it's affecting his nervous system, which is why he's shaking like that. He looks like somebody with Parkinson's or something like that. It makes me so sad. But this might be it. This might be the only symptoms that he ever has. Since he is older, he's about 4 years old, he has a lot higher chance of surviving. He has a lot higher, you're gonna scoot right off the edge. He has a lot higher chance of being okay and living a long, happy life. And if he starts to go downhill, we will do our best to keep him comfortable. We don't know, which is the scary part about this. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's just the way it is. There is no cure for this. We love dragons too. I know they're so popular. Well, you guys, but that is our news about ZZ. I hope it didn't bring you down too much. Like I said, he's doing okay. He eats great. He goes to the restroom. His stools are normal. This disease is also sometimes called the stargazing disease because it will affect their bones and things like that and actually pull their neck back like that sometimes. And some of these bearded dragons, just gonna sit on my hand, I guess, which has not happened to him. He is totally fine otherwise. He is doing this weird tremor thing that looks really strange, as you can see it right now. The more active he is, the more he shakes like that. There you go. He doesn't do it when he's sleeping or anything like that. So I think it just has to do with the locomotion. It's either his spine or his brain being affected by the virus. So we were hoping that it wouldn't be that. But unfortunately, that's the truth. There's no known cure for this virus. I know. So we're not the only ones getting affected by viruses, are we? Animals do too. So, and unfortunately, he's not going to be a program animal anymore in person, but he will be a program and ambassador animal in distance learning, if you will, on Zooms, etc. And again, we don't have any other bearded dragons in our collection, so no other animal should be getting sick. If you guys have a bearded dragon in your life, I highly recommend getting them tested because you won't know otherwise unless they are too far gone. Now, what can we do for him? There's not nothing we can do for him. We can definitely take good care of him. Even though there's no cure, are you going to eat the rest of that worm? Yeah, I bet you are. There's no known cure for this disease, but the best way to keep them living a happy and healthy life is to just keep them as healthy as possible, to keep their immune system up. Sometimes this disease can affect their immune system for other diseases and things that they can get. Look at his beautiful face. Did that worm get you? You're going to get it back, I bet. Yum. He is so pretty. Look at his beautiful arms. But ZZ will be a regular here on Virtual Encounters for sure. Now that we've come clean about that a little bit, there's a calcium powder everywhere, isn't there? And we've let you guys know what's going on with him. And now that we know, we can use him in virtual programs because this doesn't seem to stress him out or anything like that. We weren't sure what was going on with him, so we wanted to make sure and be as low stress as possible. He's perfectly fine other than the little shakes that he does. So he should be okay to do the Zoom and live stream encounters from now on. Aren't you, buddy? And we'll keep you posted on ZZ's progress. The best thing we can do to keep him nice and healthy, we are giving him extra like vitamin supplements and calcium supplements as always. That is good for bearded dragons in general. He's getting all the healthy food he can possibly get. No junk food. He's getting super worms, dubia roaches, sometimes gut-loaded crickets. And what else does he get? Salads, fruits and vegetables sometimes. Mostly dark greens in his salads. You guys have been a wonderful audience. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, and I'm sorry to end on that note, but I wanted to kind of end with ZZ because he's the star of the show today. He's never been on the show before. Look how beautiful he is. He's so gorgeous. Let's bring this over so you guys can see him a little bit better. Bearded dragons are wonderfully popular, and I know why, because they have great personalities. Bearded dragon care is a little advanced. I would say they're a medium advanced animal to keep. They don't get much bigger than this, though, which is nice. They can live, if they're a teenager-sized dragon, they can live in a 40-gallon enclosure or up to 60 or 70-gallon. Bigger is better, but that's harder to keep your temperatures regulated the bigger you get, so just something to keep in mind. These guys are warm weather and warm temperature animals. They need a basking spot. They need an ambient warm temperature, and ultraviolet light is really important for them. I was really happy to see that his blood work was very, very healthy, so we know that we're doing everything else correctly. Again, this is something that could not be prevented because it wasn't something that he got from me. He probably got from whoever he came from in the first place, which I'm not blaming them either. It can happen. He was asymptomatic his whole entire life until now. There's no way they could have known. But since he is an older bearded dragon, well, not old, but he's not a baby bearded dragon. Most baby bearded dragons that get the adenovirus don't make it at all. They don't make it. So we're hoping that he does. The vet is very optimistic. My vet is. We're optimistic too. Keep us in your thoughts and think about ZZ going through what he's going through. And yeah, that's about all I have to say about that. He is so gorgeous. Bearded dragons are amazing animals. Reptiles are amazing animals. I hope you guys have learned a little bit about reptiles. Once again, we do have tipping capabilities on Venmo. If you guys want to support our animals and what we do on Venmo, it is at Once in a While. Last four is 5240. And you can also donate to our Amazon wish list. That's always fun to get your gifts from Amazon to our door, which is so much fun. I love doing unboxing videos about our Amazon or with our Amazon wishlist gifts. Those are really fun. You guys can find these videos saved on YouTube as well as Facebook. Please follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. We are trying to be on as many platforms as possible. LinkedIn, Twitter, all those things. Once in a While is what we're called. OnceInAWhile.com is how you can find our information to schedule your Zoom room animal encounter. ZZ would love to see you in a Zoom room. He's going to be doing those from now on. And these live streams too. He's one of my favorites. Okay, guys, thank you so much for your support. Thank you for understanding about ZZ. And I'm sorry to report the bad news, but we're going to do our very best with him as we do with all of our animals, and he should be just fine. Okay, guys, we'll see you next time, and we'll be back on Monday. We are on live stream every Monday and Friday at 3:30 p.m. Central, and we've gone a little bit over time today. I usually try to keep it at an hour or so, but I wanted to tell you guys about him today. So I hope you have enjoyed our program regardless, and we'll see you next time. We're going to close with our video that we always close with. I always forget to get it ready. Haha. And you guys have been a wonderful audience as usual, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys so very much. We'll see you next time at 3:30 p.m. Central Time over on Monday. Hope to see you then. Bye, guys.